What is going on, guys? DBG here, and today we're going to be talking about how to make MT early in NBA 2K23 MyTEAM. So these tips are obviously not going to be like tips that are going to be the greatest come October, November, but these are going to be tips on how to make some decent MT and build your team early, because the last thing you guys want is to just have a whole bunch of cards that are worthless in your team and you're struggling the whole year. What you do want to do is build up a decent early team, build up that little bit of MT, and that has you pretty much set for the year if you can do that well. So basically, we're going to be talking about some MT methods that I really like early on in the year, and things that I think are going to be really, really useful if we are being completely honest. I think they're going to be very, very useful. So anyway, first and foremost, one of the biggest ways of making MT is by not losing MT. Not doing dumb stuff with MT. So a lot of people are going to be talking about how you're just going to want to use the highest overall players, or I don't know why. Let me get in. No, I don't want to buy the game. I'm already in the process of sorting it. But basically, you just don't want to lock in for collections. You don't want to spend 250k on a base set player, if you get me. There's going to be a bunch of base set amethysts. We look even at my team base set from last year. I don't even know what it's going to be called, but there's so many amethysts. So these highest players like Moncrief and stuff. How rare are these cards? You can see, obviously they're rare now. But when these cards first came out, they were super expensive on day one. Westfall was 30k on day one. For the reason of, they're kind of rare. But the one thing that I do think with these is that they do drop quite a lot in price very quickly. So what you don't want to do is buy them on day one. By day 2 or 3, when everyone who's pre-ordered the game has got the game. Because if you guys don't know, you can see here with these, in the pre-order packs, you're guaranteed to get one. So you're going to see so many of these on the auction house that it's pretty freaking easy to end up sniping them for pretty cheap. So again, don't overpay on day one for these cards. That is one of the first things. If you want to just play the game and make MT out of playing the game, this is the best mode for that. The mode where you can win games the quickest is always your new best mode. It appears that we don't know whether ball drops even exist or not. The quickest way you're going to be able to make MT through this, assuming everyone earns the same amount of MT in the multiplayer TTO games, and there's no lower sliders or there's no lower amount of MT. Literally, there will be a way to cheese the AI and get one of your players to shoot a 3-pointer every time. Maybe force one of your corners to drop one player to shoot threes. Play multiplayer this game. If you want to make MT from just playing the game, that is the easiest way to do it. If you want to make money from investments, cards that are going to go up in price, there are two types of players that will go up in price. There are the long-term investments and there are the real short-term investments. So if you manage to get this game on, normally on day one, I always say, the cards are cheaper because no one has MT. But the issue is that most cards, if you guys look even at the premium sets from last year, where is it? You look at Colossal. So basically, when it came to Colossal, these 3 guys here were very cheap on day one. They continue to be very cheap. So did these guys here. And the issue is that it's no longer that people are having to put these cards up for 800 MT because no one has any coins. Because everyone starts, most people will start off with 10,000 MT. An issue with starting off with 10k is it means most people are going to use that 10k to buy players, which means you're going to see the likes of whoever the Sapphires are in the set with Steph Curry, whatever it's called. You're going to be seeing them a little bit more expensive. But the cards that do shoot up in price, if you can somehow find a way to finesse yourself 100k MT on day one, and you go and pick yourself up a Steph Curry or something, he will very much go up in price. These are only short-term ones because within 2 or 3 weeks, they're going to drop again. But the long-term investments, I've already talked about it in a short. It is the coaches. The coaches. So basically, what you're going to want is you're going to want an Amethyst or above coach. The reason is that there's plenty of free Ruby coaches. There's plenty of cheap Ruby coaches. The gap between a Ruby and an Amethyst coach is almost non-existent. So for me, what I always like is... I'm trying to think, who was the coach that I used to use this year? Was it Vogel? No, it definitely wasn't Vogel. Basically, I used a +3 3-point coach. Was it Carla? I genuinely can't remember who I used. But basically, I used a Ruby coach for the longest time because it was +3. It worked for me. But what a lot of people did was they paid for Monty Williams. They would pay like 100k for Monty Williams. He was like 100k like a month after the game came out, but on day one, Monty Williams was 10k MT. So like, and in the previous year, Doc Rivers was that. He was like 3,000 MT on launch day. But if you got Doc Rivers like after launch day, he was a freaking beast. Like, or he was so expensive. He just went way, way up in price. Like within about 2 months, until they released a big batch of coaches, these cards are going to be going consistently up in price, because coaches don't lose their value till like March. And again, if you pay 10k for an Amethyst coach in like March, or say on day one, that card's gonna be 30-40 KMT, especially if it's a pace and space coach or a perimeter centric. It's gonna be 20-30 KMT if you can manage to get them for that early on the game. Obviously, contracts aren't something to look at. In terms of badges, there are certain expensive badges, so I would like to see what the most expensive badges are. The badges that I would probably look at are, for example, if there is a limitless badge, whatever the limitless badge is, if you can get them for like 300-400 coins on day one, I would buy a lot of them. These maybe not week 1, week 2, they go up. They're more long-term investments. Eventually, they go up to 6 or 7k each. No matter what, no matter how much 2K want to get badges, there will be a certain card that needs limitless, that's a god, then they'll go to 6, 7k each. If you can stock up on them early, you're making a crap load of MT, if we're being honest. And then the last way is by sniping. So sniping is difficult, especially early in the game. The more cards there are, the easier sniping is. But one good thing with sniping early in the game is that people don't really know what their cards are worth. So the filters that I would say to avoid are things like the Steph Curry filter, because it's going to be one of the most dead things you see. The like diamond filter on day one is going to be incredibly dead. I even think the amethyst filter is going to be incredibly dead. But like there are bound to be like cards in the base set that are going to be like rubies, sapphires that maybe sell for 1,000-2,000 MT. Players that I would look to snipe, if 2K release a whole bunch of duos early in the year, that's one of the things that always happens at the start of the year. Cards with duos end up being really expensive. So I would probably advise you guys to look at cards with duos and end up sniping them. I made a whole bunch of MT last year on Kirk Heinrich, on Ben Gordon, sniping those guys for like 700 MT and selling them for 2,000 MT. That's how I made a lot of my MT early in the year. So in terms of filters, it's really looking at things that nobody else is. The whole issue with people talk about all these good filters. Basically, what filters are, when people are looking for the best snipe filters and you're saying, oh, people know that I might have just ruined a duo filter there. Basically, all the filter is if you can, sniping is just buying a card for less MT than it sells for when you take into account the 10% tax. And a good filter is a card that a whole bunch of things come up, or is a filter that a whole bunch of cards come up on. So find your own filters. That's probably my best advice. Find your own filters, look at the market, study what works, and rather than look at YouTube videos for filters for sniping, figure out your own and try work with it, because I do think the diamond filter are very, very high reward, but also there's a high, like, you can't get nothing. But yeah, that is pretty much it, lads. That is the video. Just a little bit of a short one talking about how to make MT. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.